Well, if everyone will mute, we will go ahead and begin our afternoon. My name is Marty Coplin, and I am co-president of Georgia Women and Those Who Stand With Us. And we welcome you today, as well as our other sponsor, the League of Women Voters of Macon. And we are delighted to have you join us today. I want to tell you a little bit about how pleased we are to welcome Dr. Jessie Harris, the Deputy Director of Elections Division of the Georgia Secretary of State's office. Dr. Harris has earned both a doctorate of public administration and a master of public administration. He has a particular passion for voter education, elections administration, and legislative support management. Having also served as assistant election supervisor at the county registrar's office in Gwinnett County, I think he knows a thing or two about the ins and outs of voting. I'm sure we will learn a great deal today from Dr. Jessie Harris.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coplin. And good afternoon, everyone. It's my honor to be here with you all and to provide some insight on the changes in the law and how that is going to impact you at the polls this coming election cycle. And it is our office pleasure to navigate you through those changes and prepare you for a seamlessly voter experience.
I'm bringing your PowerPoint up now.
Okay.
And I will be more than happy to share that with everybody in a minute. I'm
Great.
so sorry.
Take your time. You're
Go.
fine.
All right. Whoops. Do you ever have one of those moments? This is one of those. Okay, there it is. PowerPoint. Voila. Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah. And if you want to do the slideshow view.
I thought I was, but apparently I'm not. Hang on a second.
There you go.
I've just got, is it showing now?
No, it's still showing your editor's view. So if you go to slideshow, no, you're fine.
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I have to minimize it again.
Okay.
Slideshow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Perfect. So once again, it is an honor to present before you all. And we're going to talk about our Georgia Elections Division, our mission and our vision, so that you can get an understanding of our shared commitment with the county. And that is to produce trusted results that reflect the will of eligible Georgia voters. And it is our mission to ensure and to promote secure, accountable, accurate, and fair elections that Georgia voters can have confidence in and to be trustworthy custodians of the Georgia seal. A lot of people don't know that that is a judiciary responsibility of our office. We are responsible for the Georgia seal. So while we're here today, we are discussing what's new since SB 202. And this is just a brief introduction. And by the end of our slideshow, we'll be able to understand what it is that we need to be informed voters when we go to the polls, and also give you some takeaways that you can use, such as web links and URLs where you can do additional research after today. So we'll move to the next slide.
Of course we will. As soon as my computer lets me. Okay.
Oh, the one before that one.
Gotcha.
Perfect. So Senate Bill 202 was adopted by the Georgia General Assembly in 2021, and it became effective in different parts of 2021, but full implementation was in July of 2021. And this just changes some of the administrative rules and practices in the elections law. As the administrative enforcement arm of Title 21, which is our elections code under Georgia Code and the state election board rules, we want you to know how the changes will impact you and your trip to the polls. So real quickly, some of the facts is SB 202 was the only omnibus election bill that was produced in 2021, and its name comes from Election Integrity Act of 2021, and it feeds from the lack of voter confidence that we experienced in 2020, and that was just not in Georgia, but nationwide. And this was a response to that goal. So I'm going to do some befores and after on a couple of our slides here. And we're going to talk about absentee ballots, advanced in-person voting, and provisional ballots. So before SB 202, we in Georgia verified the identity of absentee ballot voters by signature matching only. Absentee ballots could be requested up to the Friday before Election Day. So some of those changes are now the absentee ballot application requires a driver's license or state ID number, as well as the date of birth. And it also reduced the amount of days to request the absentee ballot 11 days before Election Day. So the date for that is May 13th. So if you are going to request an absentee ballot, make sure you do it on the properly approved form, which in its bottom right-hand corner has APP-21 for application version 21. And if you're going to use the application to outreach to communities to participate as an absentee ballot voter, then you would use the third-party form, which will be available on our website later this week, that has the disclaimer written in SB 202, now codified into law. So your absentee ballot application, it shall contain, or it must have, and this is very important, and then we're going to walk through the next slide. We're going to actually dissect the application. The application is a bit lengthy now because it's 2 pages, but it definitely requires the following: the date of the election. If you are requesting a ballot for the first time in the election cycle, you want to make sure that you put May 24th, 2022. Oh, I'm sorry, if we can go back. Perfect.
I know, I think I jumped ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're going to want to do the type of ballot. For primaries, you definitely wanted to select if you're going to vote a Republican or Democratic ballot, and if not, you want to select nonpartisan. If voters do, in fact, forget to include this, then the elections office will reach out to you. You want to include your residence address, date of birth, Georgia's driver license or state ID, and the signature or original mark of elector. So the next slide, we're going to look at the absentee ballot application. So we have the date of the election, as I stated, so that'll be where you'll put May 24, 2022. You'll do print your name on section 2. You'll also in section 3, select your ballot type, and this is only required for primary elections only. If you're going to submit another application for subsequent runoffs or the general November election, then you will not need to complete this. Residence address is required as registered on your voter registration record. And if you're going to be away from the state or away from your home poll location or in another county, if you will, in the state, you will definitely want to include an out of county or out of state temporary address so that your ballot can be mailed to you. Section 7 is really important because that is where the new law comes into place, and it requires your date of birth and your full driver's license number, or state ID card number. If you don't have, well, that's all that's required here. You do have a space in section 7 to make a copy of your photo ID and crop it to that perforated or dotted line box, and then signature. The next slide is page 2. The only thing that's required on this page is section 9, which is just your printed name. And this is important if you're going to print this application from home and do not have double-sided options, then you will go ahead and print 2 pages and continue your application. Also, if you're receiving assistance from a voter, it is required that they complete section 10. If you're going to request the ballot on behalf of someone else, if they're disabled or temporarily residing outside of the country, then you want to be able to complete section 11. And section 11 also spells out what relationship you will need to be in order to request that ballot. Section 12 is very important if you want to automatically receive a ballot the entire election cycle. So we have 4 scheduled elections this year. We have the May 24, 2022 general primary. We have its subsequent runoff, which is June 21st. And then we have the November general election, and then a runoff in December. So if you want to automatically receive an absentee ballot, you will complete section 9 if you meet the following criteria: elderly, 65 years or older, disabled, you have a physical disability, or overseas military citizen voter. Citizen voter, overseas, so we call that UACAVA under the Help America Vote Act of 2002. We are able to transmit an electronic ballot that will be submitted through the My Voter page through secured means, and you can print that ballot, vote that ballot, and then mail it back to your county elections office. The shaded area to your right spells out the acceptable forms of identification that you would use on the first part of the application in that dotted box. And that's pretty much it for the voters' information on this page. So I want to talk a little briefly about the absentee ballot cure process, and I was hoping that including this would allow you to understand what it is that you need to do perfectly to avoid the cure process. So you definitely want to sign your absentee ballot application with a wet signature, meaning you can sign it with pen and ink. You can scan that and email it back to the county registrar. You can lay it out on a flat surface and take a picture with your mobile device and attach that to an email and send it to your county. Wet signature just means that it has to be in your pen, in your hand, and in ink, not using a digital signature or signing on like a tablet like you would DocuSign. If the elector is unable to complete his or her own ballot application because of literacy or other physical disabilities, then the person that is assisting them must sign the application. An absentee ballot application cure affidavit are forms that we use that will allow you to communicate with the county when you have missing identifying information. If you were to submit an application and you did not include your driver's license, or if you didn't update your voter record and your driver's license number changed from the last time that you engaged or interacted with the elections office, this will give you the opportunity to update your voter record without having to go through the voter registration process again. The cure affidavit must be accompanied by one of those acceptable forms of identification that we just talked about, which is on the second page of the application. And the affidavit and identification, if it's sufficient, then the Board of Registrars will go ahead and process that ballot and count your vote. If it is not, then the ballot will be rejected and you would need to use another means of voting options, which will be your early advance in person or going to the polls on election day. So advanced voting wait times. Before SB 202, counties were able to vote between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and have optional Saturday and Sunday voting. The new law changed to where on weekdays, voting shall start between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and end between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. This now allows counties to only conduct voting hours between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. unless the Board of Registrar otherwise votes to have it extended. Counties can extend it from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I definitely encourage you to check your county elections office's website as well as the SOS website to learn more about your advanced polling location, operating hours, and physical addresses. And no, take your time.
Sorry. There we go.
Yeah. So this is very important, especially for those that may work on election day that may find that they're not near their home precinct. This is very important for you to understand and also communicate to your neighbors. Prior to SB 202, voters who went to the wrong precinct to vote on election day were allowed to cast a provisional ballot. And then once that provisional ballot is researched, it will be their choices will be duplicated on their precinct ballot, and only the contest on their precinct ballot would be counted. So for a primary, we have statewide offices and we have local offices. So if they're in the wrong precinct, who they can vote for may not be on that ballot, but the ballot will duplicate it to record their choices for all statewide offices. So their vote still counts, it's just a partial vote. So after SB 202, under the new law, any provisional ballot cast by a voter in the wrong precinct will only count if it is cast after 5 p.m. So state legislators believe that if you arrive before 5, you should have an opportunity to go to your home precinct. And so that is why they codified that law. Voters who go to the wrong precinct before 5 will be directed to go to their correct precinct. If the voter would like to cast a ballot after 5 p.m., the poll official will let them know that their ballot will not be counted and encourage them to actually go to their home precinct.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
When we had the runoff for the Senate races in January of 2021, there were only the Senate races, which would be US as opposed to state. So it wouldn't really matter what precinct you voted in, whatever time you went. So
Correct, but the law will still apply regardless of the ballot of the election. So it's still encouraged that we continue with continuous practices or be consistent in our voting behavior so that we don't be disenfranchised any further than or not have your vote counted rather, just because we believe that your ballot will be duplicated. But then again, this is only after 5 p.m. So if it's 5 p.m., then it will count. But if it's before then, they believe that you should be able to get to your home precinct. I would definitely encourage you to go to my voter page, which I have a URL at the end of the slide that will show you where your polling locations are. So poll worker, if you're interested in becoming a poll worker or have worked in the polls in the past, now you can go to a neighboring county. As long as the county where you reside is able to fully operate their elections without you. So if you want want to be a poll worker in an adjoining county, you are more than welcome to do that. And you have a waiver that you would need to get from your county elections office to go to said county. So here's a little bit of changes and reinforcements of our existing administrative processes, practices, and laws, and we'll go through these. Voter complaint hotline. The Attorney General will maintain a voter hotline for complaints of voter intimidation and illegal election activity. SOS, the SB 202 rule, did remove the Secretary of State from the State Elections Board, making that position ex officio, a non-voting member, and nominating and electing a chairperson of the State Elections Board by the General Assembly. The law also changed where it initiates superintendent performance reviews of the board. It allows the county governing board, legislative delegation, or the State Elections Board itself to request performance reviews of low performing or underperforming elections offices. And that can be where the state will come in and the word is takeover, but more so provide streamlined support so that you can run elections in your county effectively. Also challenging qualifications of electors. There are two ways that you can challenge electors. You can challenge someone's right to register or to remain registered to vote. And also you can challenge their voting. And so for this, persons who challenge the qualifications of electors, they'll not be limited to the number of people whose qualifications can be challenged. That means you can challenge every voter in the county if you want to. Challenges must have a hearing scheduled within 10 business days, and you can write that challenge request to your local county election superintendent. Also, the state joined ERIC, and ERIC is a very great system, and it allows us to improve our list maintenance in voter rolls. The state joined ERIC last year, and that is one of my responsibilities as deputy director, where I interact and engage and attend their board meetings, as well as share our voter files and DDS files so that we can know who moved or died or otherwise become ineligible. This system allows states to communicate with each other, where we would learn if someone had voting activity in Florida and voting activity in Georgia, or they had a driver's license issued to them in Illinois. We're able to understand that that's an indication that they moved, and we're able to clean up the voter rolls that way. And when we clean up the voter rolls, we place individuals in an active status. It does allow them to still vote if they go to the poll or request an absentee ballot. We place people in counsel status when they have died or moved to another state or become ineligible due to a felony. And that does not delete the voter record or purge the voter record. It simply keeps in our database, but it removes them from active status so that when they go to the poll to vote, they're no longer in the system. And that just flags so that they'll get a provisional ballot. So what we say at the state level and county level is, when in doubt, issue it out. Anyone should be able to cast a ballot on election day. Unfortunately, at times, a provisional ballot does need to be cast if we're not able to identify the voter in real time while they stand before the poll official. Also, this is a great impact to counties, that counties must address long voter wait lines. In 2020, we experienced significant wait lines due to social distancing, due to COVID. And even before then, there were long wait lines as well during events in person as well as election day. So precincts that have more than 2,000 voters will now be split into additional precincts. This will allow voters on election day to experience shorter wait times. Ballots could entail added security measures. So statewide, our Dominion voting system has security paper that incorporates measures to authenticate a ballot as official. Also, no gifts, money, food, or drink within 150 feet of the polling location or building. This should be further explained because I know there was some controversy when this bill came out. This is only within 150 feet or anyone waiting in line. So there shouldn't be any food, gratuity, gifts, drink to electors who are in line within the 150 feet of the polling location or within the polling location. One moment. Or any voter or within 25 feet of any voter standing in line at the polling location. So those have been some changes that were brought on by SB 202. So being prepared, I like your motto, change happens, but the vote goes on. So be prepared, make a plan, map your election day polling location, go on my voter page, which I'll share later how to get to that. Take advantage of advanced voting, especially if your county has optional Sunday voting. I have experienced that those are shorter lines when I worked in Gwinnett. There will be hundreds of people waiting in line Monday through Friday, a couple of hundred people standing in line Saturday, and then Sunday morning, we're open at 7 a.m. and literally we're just sitting around waiting for someone to come and vote. So Sunday, maybe after church, would definitely be an optimal time to come and cast your ballot, especially with primaries of this magnitude. We had over 1,000 candidates qualify for this primary election. So you will definitely experience a very long ballot. There are also political party questions. I believe the Republican Party submitted about 9 to 10, as well as the Democratic Party. So you want to be able to give yourself time and grace to review that ballot once you vote on the electronic voting machine and that ballot prints out. You want to be able to give yourself time to review that ballot. Bring a snack or an umbrella, use layers of clothing. County election offices don't really have a lot of awnings or protections from the elements. So you definitely want to be able to be amenable to those changes in atmospheric pressures. Also, if you are 75 years or older, you are able to advance to the front of the line and go to the next available voting machine and check in. Be informed. Review your sample ballot, which can be found on your My Voter page. This will make you informed of the candidates, the questions and propositions. Use sufficient postage when you mail your voted absentee ballot back. There are some counties that have opted to do postage paid return for you all. So if you live in Gwinnett, the board before I left did vote to approve postage paid return. So if you're a Gwinnett voter, that's great news. So definitely look on your absentee envelope and make sure that if it says place sufficient postage here, that you do that. And if not, then it should have an initial that will say that postage is already paid. Know where your nearest ballot drop box location is. Drop boxes are only available during advanced polling hours, and the drop box will be inside the polling location. What you do need to understand is that you do not need to wait in line if you are hoping or wishing to just drop off your absentee ballot. You can just go through the voter entrance, drop your ballot off, and then exit the building. Place your ABM ballot into the secrecy sleeve, and then place the secrecy sleeve into the outer oath envelope. These are sometimes yellow or white with a yellow stripe. Make sure you sign your oath envelope and put the identifying information on there. If you make a mistake, this is very important. If you make a mistake and need a replacement ballot, write spoiled across the ballot itself and on the outside envelope and return that to your county's office. When the county office sees foiled across the face of the envelope, they will automatically mail you a replacement ballot. In 2020, we learned and saw that a lot of voters wanted to spoil the ballot because they made a mistake and only wrote spoil across the ballot and not across the envelope. So there's no indication to the county registrar if you want a replacement ballot. So it's very important to follow those instructions so that you can get a ballot, a replacement ballot, that is. So those are the impacts of the SB 202 and how it would impact your voting experience. And we do hope that it did not significantly discourage or sort of impede on the elections process. I think that some of these laws have been codified to bring about voter integrity and voter confidence, as well as put a more administrative hat on us where we are more vigilant and responsive to the needs of Georgia voters. So what's happening at our elections office? We recently conducted redistricting with changes to federal, state, and local lines. We have just a few counties who are still in redistricting, and they should be complete within the coming weeks. As mentioned before, we started membership with ERIC, which is Electronic Registration Information Center, which is a shared goal of ensuring the efficiency and integrity of the voter roll. The data includes names, addresses, date of birth, last 4 digits of your social security number. This private information is indeed private. When it is shared to us through ERIC, it is not open for public record requests. We maintain the privacy of this information, and it's also codified in our law and in our code that we keep this information private. So be secure and also be well that we keep your information private. Another exciting thing about our office that we have upgraded to a new statewide voter registration system. This will definitely increase voter check-in during advanced in-person voting and have just major capacity, just unlimited capacity for voter registration information. The current system is at end of life. It was created at a time that did not or was not prepared to hold as much data as it currently holds, with Georgia's now over 10 million voters. And so we are excited to have this system. And then also we have a new Secretary of State website with the mind to influence the user to be more engaged and interactive and get the information to you right at the click of a button without having to hard navigate. So I talked about our new voter registration system, and it is called Jarvis. So if you are a Star Wars fan, you will understand that name. And it is called our Georgia Registered Voter Information System. And so I'm just going to highlight on a couple of goals and objectives, and then we'll take questions. So we're going to increase customer satisfaction through enhanced professional, business, and constituent access to easier, faster, and more transparent processes. It's definitely going to improve the overall automation of manual processes that we currently have in place. And as I mentioned earlier, replace our end-of-life system with more modern, scalable, resilient, and security-based technology. So here are some additional resources. Our SOS website, and that is the URL. We also have our MVP, where you can check your registration. And the action plan I definitely want to leave you with is that you look at that to look at your sample ballot. You also look at it to confirm your polling location for election day. You can also find your advanced early polling location on that site. You can also see when a ballot has been issued and mailed to you, and when a ballot has been returned to the county, when your ballot rather has been returned to the county's office and processed. You can also use this to see if you were impacted by redistricting, which the entire state of Georgia was. If your local lines didn't change, definitely your federal and state lines did change. The Federal Voting Assistance Program for our UOCAVA voters. VFAP is there, and they have a very large system of information. And then also, if you want to keep up to date with our Georgia Assembly legislative updates and session information, then you also can go to that URL as well. On Monday, they are reading House Bill 1645, which impacts elections somewhat. And I want to make sure that I was citing the right one. So we have encouraged our county election officials to come to the state capitol to talk to their representatives in order to move this bill along, and to also rewrite anything that would be disadvantageous, if you will, to the county elections office during what we anticipate a very highly visible and highly engaged electorate, as well as higher turnout. And then I believe at this time, if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to answer those. And
Dr. Harris, do we know how this has affected voter turnout? Has it discouraged voters? Because it seems like it's a lot more dependent on somebody's reading ability and ability to respond in a very rational way.
thank you so much, Ms. Gervin. So with this, we don't know, and we have not measured how it will impact voter turnout, because this will be the first time it's implemented with a statewide election. While it was codified last year and put into law, it only impacted a few counties that conducted city elections, or what we call municipal elections. So some of the practices were in place, but we didn't have the large turnout that we will normally have for a gubernatorial. So we'll be able to see that this coming May, and then we'll compare those numbers to 2018.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I just speak up, or somebody calling on people? Is it okay to just go ahead? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine, Ada.
In the absentee ballot, that's section 7. Can you put that back up again? I didn't understand.
So yeah, so section 7, and as you get that back up, is where the voter identification is required. And that is that new law where it requires your date of birth and driver's license number or state ID number.
You said take a picture of something and send it in. You have to take a picture of your ballot, or what?
So you have to take so you would have to take a picture of your driver's license or state ID card.
Is that for people? I mean, you mean with your phone? You know, like suppose you have an older person who doesn't have a cell phone or doesn't know how to use one.
Correct. So there's various options that you can do. You can complete the application, put your ID inside the box and snap a picture, and then take a picture of the page 2 and send that via email to the county. Or you can make a photocopy of your ID and glue it or tape it to that section, and then return it to your county's office.
So everybody has to have access to a way to photocopy. So
Yes,
either with your phone or going to a copy store or something in order to do this?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, go ahead.
Well, my next question is not related to that. If you wanted to speak more on that, go ahead. My next question is about the food and water, but.
Okay. And also, the Secretary of State will have on our website an absentee ballot portal, as we introduced in 2020, where you can complete this application online, print it out, sign it, and then upload it or take a picture of it and send it to the county.
Well, I think about my older sister who likes to vote, but she doesn't have a computer. She doesn't, we just got her cell phone. She has no way of knowing how to take a picture with it, you know, and she can't get out. She's disabled, can't go to a copy store and get a copy made. That's just, I mean, she can't be the only one that's like that. My other question is, about not being able to supply food and water, but yet under your be prepared, you say have water with you. How do you know when a person has been given the water or they brought it from home? Evidently, if they have water and food in their purse, that's not a problem. Is that what you're saying?
That's not a problem if you're bringing yourself a snack or water so that you can be prepared if you're going to anticipate longer lines. But that's for your consumption and your use, so you can have it. I believe the law was written so that it discourages third-party organizations or entities to provide food and water to those that are in line.
Can you set up a station 150 feet away to give water and snacks and have somebody say the place where you get out of line?
Yes, sir, you can. So if you're outside of the 150 feet campaign and not within 25 feet of anyone standing in line, then you are able to do that.
I have
Dr.
a
Harris,
Whoops.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, did we have a lot of evidence of voter fraud that brought about these changes?
No.
I am not
Because
aware of any sound or solid evidence that brought about these changes.
Oh my gosh. It just
I
sounds
have-
so much more complicated. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions. One, a comment that most of this for absentee ballots is predicated on the fact that you have a computer or access to one. And there are many, many, many people in the state of Georgia that do not.
So they
Second,
don't even have broadband, so they can't, what good
That's
is it
true.
having a computer? So
you said the drop boxes are available inside the polling places and only from 9 to 5.
Or 7 to 7, depending on the time that the county registrar office has voted to have it open.
Okay, that was going to be my question. If the polling place is open till 7, can you still bring in your ballot? Suppose someone comes to the wrong precinct and it's 5 minutes to 5 because they got off work 15 minutes early to get to the polling place and they're in the wrong polling place. Where do they get their provisional ballot and where do they bring it after 5?
Wait, so we're talking about the early voting?
Yes,
Okay.
any voting.
Okay, so provisional ballot, so when I refer to provisional ballot in the law, and I'm sorry the table was taking, you probably see me vibrating,
No.
was only regarding election day. So,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah,
My question still remains. If somebody gets to the polling place 5 minutes before 5 o'clock and the polling place closes at 5, where do they get their provisional ballot and how do they turn it in after 5?
so correct. So that's what, so provisional ballot, as I referred to earlier in your question, only speaks to election day. So we're talking about election day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the law says that if you are casting, if you're in your wrong precinct and cast a provisional ballot, it will only be counted if it's, except if you're voting after 5. So
What if your
it does,
polling place closes at 5?
a polling place shouldn't close at 5. It's required by law to be open until 7. That's for election day. Advanced in-person early voting can close at 5, but
Okay.
then the provisional process is different. When you vote provisional in an early polling location, that 5 p.m. does not exist.
Okay, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood that. All right, thank you for clearing that up.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for asking.
Again, where do they get that provisional ballot?
Oh, they get it inside the polling location. So when they go to vote, if they are not in the registration system, or if there is a challenge on their record, such as a felon challenge or something that will not allow them to just process as a identified voter through the process, then they are issued a provisional ballot, which is you vote the same way, so you'll still vote on the BMD, and then you'll be directed to come back to the provisional station to secure that ballot in an envelope and complete the information on the envelope. And then that will be processed separately from when you just put your ballot in the scanner to
But
be
you,
tabulated.
okay, but you get that ballot at the polling place where you are. You don't have to go somewhere else to get it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Now,
You're
there's
welcome.
something about felons. I have heard this, the state keeps track of who have had their parole time served. And prior, the state checked the social security number and if they had a felony, if they had been cleared. And then they could go ahead and vote. But I've heard a number of incidences where people who have served their parole time have not actually been taken off the state's register for that. And so they're prevented from voting. Now, I mean, you can't do anything about that if the state hasn't done their job.
Yeah.
The state be a little more active in making it better for people to vote instead of nearly impossible for some people.
Correct. So our list maintenance projects and activities will better support that. Also, it's actually also incumbent upon the voter to show proof of time served and expungement documentation that will have the voter record updated as well.
Doesn't the parole officer send that to the state?
Yes. So we have different, so we have the Department of Justice. We also have various other states that will send us information saying that this person was convicted of a felony in our state. And this is the time that they will be able, they will serve as a felon, and this is the time when they're supposed to be off. So we do sort of work with other entities as well as our law enforcement agency here in order to clean that record up.
So what does a prior felon, well, a prior person who was on parole time, how does he get to vote?
So if in the system they are still flagged as a felon, then they will vote as a provisional voter. They'll sign a non-felon affidavit, and then that ballot will be processed later on in the elections process before certification. And then at that time, during that research, once it is determined that that time has been served and they're no longer a felon, then, and the restitution has been paid, then they will go ahead and be updating the system, and they should not experience that issue again.
So what is the likelihood of that affecting that election? It sounds like it's still highly likely that they're not going to get that cleared up within a few days when they want to do it and their vote won't count.
Correct. So it is probable that that can happen, and definitely in my personal experience, when that did happen. But a lot of people go and they come back with the correct documentation that verifies that they are no longer serving time.
Thank you.
Excuse me, may I? Hello,
Right?
I have a question. I filled out and did absentee ballot for a primary on November 2nd, 2021. I've kept a copy of it so that I could do this again. I do have to make a comment. I read this form, and under request an absentee ballot, it says absentee ballots may be requested anytime between 78 and 11 calendar days. I suggest, you know, I'm an attorney and I did not understand that at first. The wordage there between 78 and 11 calendar days, I would think would be, and I'm only saying that because I was a teacher first in the city of Atlanta schools. I think that phrase between 78 and 11 calendar days prior to election day, I believe that verbiage is very confusing for someone like any of the students I taught initially. I know what's between 78 and 11 calendar days is, but seems to me like it could have said between 78 days prior to election and up to 11 I'm just pointing something out.
Yes.
The other woman, and I'm new to this group, the other woman who spoke so beautifully about how confusing this is for her aunt, I have friends that are going to be absolutely confused, like her aunt.
Mhm.
And on the original, this is on the original application, it gave me a choice to enter my date of birth and my Georgia driver's license or attach a picture. I didn't have to attach both. Now do I have to attach a picture? Hello?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Mm-mm.
So the problem, which I believe was a legitimate problem, is if you don't have a copy or a way to make a picture. Do I understand that in section 7 of the original application for Georgia absentee ballots remains the same, that if you attach your date of birth and your Georgia driver's license, you do not need to attach a picture. Is that correct?
That is correct. You only attach a picture if you do not have a Georgia driver's license or state ID.
But you have to attach a picture of your driver's license.
No.
Of the acceptable form of identification listed on page 2 of the application. So those, and I'll read some of those off. It would be a United States military identification card, an employee identification card issued by a branch of government, agency of the United States, the Georgia State Department, Georgia County, municipality, board, authority, or any other entity in the state of Georgia.
But you have to attach a picture of something.
Yes,
No.
ma'am. A passport.
Yes.
If
Only
you don't have an ID, if you don't have a driver's license or a state issued ID, you have to put
Right.
your picture.
Correct.
So if you got a driver's license, you can put just the driver's license number. You don't have to take a picture of anything.
Correct.
And a date of birth. You have to fill in your date of birth.
Okay, I didn't understand that from what I asked you before. Okay.
And
Oh,
I'm
my
with,
apologies. Yes.
No,
So to
I have-
clarify that,
do we get these online from the Secretary of State? Do we click and get a application online?
yes, ma'am.
What if you don't have, as was mentioned legitimately, what if you don't have a computer to click on to get an application? Do we go downtown to City of Atlanta to get an
No,
absentee?
ma'am. So you can contact our office or your county registrar's office, and
Okay,
they will mail you one. But
Okay.
they will only mail you one at
okay,
your request.
but we can make copies of that one
Yes,
to give
you
to others
can.
who don't have. Am
You
I-
can make available as yourself, but we also have a form that if you're going to do that, there's a disclaimer under the law that says this is not a government document, and I am, and it would list your name and your address as an individual or third party organization that would like to issue applications.
How is somebody gonna know if I'm not?
Yeah.
That
Very
makes,
It's so, yeah.
around 3 times and click our heels together, just like like in the Wizard of Oz. Okay, thank you. This has been so informative.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What about, I used to work in a nursing home, and the social workers always assisted the disabled residents in completing their ballots, requesting their absentee ballot, whatever.
Yeah.
I know there's a specific list of people who can assist people, but a lot of I worked in an indigent home, had no relatives.
Right.
So how do those people vote?
So that is what we would call our deputy registrar program. And that in-home support person or that social worker or the CEO or director of nursing, they will go down to the elections office with a notarized document, being sworn as a deputy registrar, and then they are able to assist those residents within their entity or agency with the application as well as with the ballot, but they must make sure that they complete the section where it says assisting the voter.
And can you get an absentee ballot application in person?
Yes, you may.
Where?
Had a quick
At-
question. Oh, probably
your
your Board of
county-
Elections.
At your Board
At
of
the Board of
Elections office.
Elections.
Yeah.
I knew that one. I have a quick question too. Actually, a couple quick questions.
Sure.
So the ID, the state issued ID or the driver's license, do they have to be current? Like Ada's big sister, who's maybe 95 years old and probably isn't driving anymore. Does it have to be a current driver's license?
The state law says valid, and the definition of valid driver's license in the state of Georgia is current, non-expired. So yes, it would need to be current.
Okay, one more quick question. I want to go back to something you said about the new SB 202, where the Secretary of State is no longer on the State Board of Elections. Has the General Assembly voted on somebody to take that role on, and who is that?
Yes. So our SCB board member now is Dr. Johnston. And I have their name elsewhere.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you.
No, you're good. I can go to it right quick because I want to make sure that you all have it. And any other questions while I look for that?
I have one about the challenges. You said
Okay.
you could have an unlimited number of challenges. You have to have a reason. Like I could say, I want to challenge every voter in Monroe County. Can I do that for no reason
can.
whatsoever?
You can. You will need to list the reason as to why so that the county can conduct its proper research. Meaning that but there does not have to be a reason as to why you want to challenge. Well, let me say that again. There needs to be a reason as to why you want to challenge so that the research can be conducted, because you can only challenge for 2 reasons, which is someone's right to remain registered and someone's right to cast a ballot if they are registered.
Okay.
And so you would need to document that on your request.
So if someone challenges me as a voter, then does my vote not count until that challenge hearing is over?
Yes, ma'am. So they have a certain time that they can do that. And I believe it is the Friday before the election. The other thing is early processing of ballots for absentee ballots, that is, starts 3 weeks before the election. And so they would need to consider that in their timing. If not, then that ballot will be counted once it has been processed.
How are you going to know who has sent the ballot in? Say I challenge Lynn Snyder.
Mhm.
How do you know which ballot is hers? Which absentee ballot is hers?
Correct. So we have the absentee ballot report that is published on our website that you can actually see who requested the ballot and who received the ballot. And also those ballots are stored in a secure way at the elections office, and they can access that ballot and see whose ballot is whose. Now, once processing has started, where the oath envelope and the ballot is separated, there is no way to determine whose ballot that is because we have a secret voting system here in Georgia.
I understand that because I worked
Yeah.
on the absentee ballots.
Right.
However, there are many absentee ballots that came in with no return address on them. So if I challenge somebody who has sent in an absentee ballot,
Mhm.
there's no way you're going to know which ballot that is unless they have put their return address on it.
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
I think that's a whole big waste of time and money.
Yeah, is the state going to pay all these extra people that the Board of Elections are going to have to employ to go through all of these hoops so that you can satisfy mostly the crazies?
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't mean to say yeah on record as if I was agreeing with you.
Oh, you
But
didn't.
but no,
But,
it is
I
the
mean, it's
responsibility.
just, the state is just piling on all of these
Yeah.
requirements that the Board of Elections, and some counties actually are closing precincts because they're not gonna have enough money to run the elections. And here, we're in Bibb County,
Yeah.
and they have to just beg on their knees to get budget just to do, and legislature pass these voting equipment that require extra heavy duty things, and they want little, I don't know, stickers or ballots or seals of some sort put on the ballots. I mean, all of that is just gonna, it's gonna increase the cost of elections so that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
The co-
just, and our Board of Election wouldn't even consider having Sunday, they wouldn't even discuss whether scheduling a Sunday vote. I mean, nobody that was brought up, do we want to talk about Sunday vote? And absolutely nobody made a proposal about it.
Yeah.
I mean, so these,
The responsibility, the budget responsibility is that of the County Board of Commissioners and Board of Elections. The state, as the elections office, there is no order or statute of providing funding other than a reimbursement for precinct cards.
but the state's making the requirement, they're placing the lawful requirement on the
Yes.
boards of election.
And that would definitely be a recommendation and encouragement for you all as citizens and voters to be engaged and informed when it comes to making those laws so that you can lobby
We were.
as an organization. Yeah,
We were.
I understand. And,
I had
Ms.
also
Copeland,
read with the supply chain issues that getting this secure paper might be an issue as well.
yes, there are definitely some supply chain issues when it comes to ballot paper, the canary yellow paper that produces the oath envelope. So there are some paper shortage reservations that we have, and we are acknowledging and ensuring that we are prepared in advance for that. And Ms. Copeland, I have the board members if you're ready for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious. Can we put it in the chat maybe? Is that doable?
Sure, that's absolutely
That way
doable.
everybody will have access to it if you don't mind.
Okay, and it will also have their email address.
Super. Thank you.
Is there access to the PowerPoint?
I can send it to you if you'd like, Kathy.
I would like that very much because I'd like to be able to make an announcement at my bridge club.
Sure.
Almost everyone there is over 65. Most people vote absentee, and they're going to be astounded at the changes.
I think I have just about everybody's email addresses, and I'll be happy to send each of you, if you're interested, that the PowerPoint, if that's okay with you, Dr. Harris.
That's more than okay, yeah,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
I just want to mention that my husband has an MD and MBA, and he always votes absentee because he works in Atlanta and lives in Macon. And he said, man, you need to be a rocket scientist to fill this out. So I feel sorry for the general public.
Yeah,
I agree. How far is 25 feet? I didn't play football. My husband unfortunately passed away. Any idea? Is that where I
So-
have to stop giving out water?
for someone that's standing in line, and then 150 feet from the enclosed space. So basically, what they captured there is some lines at election offices extend beyond the 150 feet.
Oh, yes, mine.
Right, absolutely. So then they added 25 feet from someone in line. So
Huh?
that's, yeah, so you can't give water or food or gifts or money to anyone who's standing 25 feet of anyone that's standing in line.
Are you a football fan, Mona?
Oh, yes, I'm a Georgia Bulldog
Okay.
fan.
So 25 feet is 8 yards. That's less than from the 10-yard line to the 20-yard line, okay? And then 150 feet is 50 yards, which is almost half the football field, not counting the zone, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts.
Dr.
is a-
Harris,
Yes, ma'am.
your job has certainly changed a lot since you got there, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Well, you've got a doctorate in something. It's almost like somebody said, you've got to have a PhD in elections to vote if you can't just walk up the day of the voting.
Yeah, you definitely can't go to school for this, but they do teach some best practices. But I have a public administration degree in government and organizational management. So hopefully I can definitely use that experience. I actually wrote my dissertation on voter turnout at the local elections, at local election level, and surveyed the 88 cities and city clerks in Los Angeles, where I'm from. And that document is published, and if you want to read it, I advise you not to. It is located on my LinkedIn.
One more, Dr. Harris, you said that the list that you just put into the chat, these are the people that the General Assembly has selected to serve on the board of the State Board of Elections?
Well, the General Assembly selects the chairperson, and then the political parties appoint the others. So the chairperson is Mrs. Sarah Tyndall Ghazal. And then the other members are appointed by Republican, Democratic Party, and then one at large that serves as a nonpartisan voice.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll send that out to everybody as well. If
Can
you
we,
like.
can we know the names of which ones are which?
Which ones? I don't know the party breakdown. I just know the chairperson, and that's Sarah Tyndall Ghazal.
Oh, got it.
I have one question. Did you say May 24th is an election date? Because I've got the calendar and it says May 23rd is the last day for persons to register for the general primary runoff.
Which calendar?
I have
That's
a,
that's for the runoff, Mona. The general
no.
the primary is on the 24th. If
it's
you
not,
want to vote in the runoff, you have to register the day before.
I understand it's not on the, in other words, Doctor, the dates to vote are not on this calendar. Am I correct?
I don't know what calendar you're looking.
I'm looking
I'm
at the
sorry.
20 from the Secretary of State's office. It
Okay.
says 2022 scheduled elections calendar of events.
Perfect. Okay.
So when I go down, like you told me, on May 24th, there's nothing. I thought you just said that something happens on May 24th.
Yes, that's the primary election date.
It's not on this calendar. Should it not have been on this calendar? Am I looking at
It should be on the calendar.
2022 elections calendar of events?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went to, maybe,
That
It's-
is
It says general primary election, nonpartisan general
Correct.
election and special election date. And
That's
then
the
the next column, it says April 25th, 2022 is the registration deadline. The
Correct.
next column is the election date itself, which is May 24th.
right.
it's, what is this calendar from the Office of Secretary?
Right. So the first column is the registration cutoff for the election. So that May 23rd is the cutoff to register to vote in the June 21st runoff, because there's a federal race on the ballot. But
Okay.
the election day is next to it on the far right.
Okay, this calendar I have in front of me has none of that.
Okay.
We do
One
more-
moment. Let me.
I'm Office of Secretary of State Elections Division 2022 scheduled elections events. It's on page 2. And it doesn't
Page
say,
2. Okay. Page
got a
2.
whole, yeah, got a whole list of dates.
Oh, gotcha. Yes, that is not on there.
None of this is on there. No elections.
Yeah, because they're provided at the top of the document. So that was done by design.
So I have to go back to page 1. Is that what you're saying? Where do I
Yes,
go?
ma'am. The top of page 1.
Oh, my goodness.
Mhm. These
I'm
are just key dates that prepare you for election day, but the election dates are actually at the top.
You know, like I said, it's a shame that somewhere on that calendar of 2022 scheduled election calendar of events, it would seem to me they could have squeezed in a little line that said May 24th, right after May 23rd.
Right. We can definitely make that. I could definitely make that change. I designed this calendar, so you're fine. I can make that change. No, you're fine. Well, that's how it was actually. I just branded it, but it was actually like that. But I believe it's done like that by design. But we can definitely put it in there if it
Okay.
is.
You want to put the November date also?
Yes, I'll also put the runoff as well.
Yeah, the election. It doesn't, on November 7th, it says last day to register and be eligible to vote, but it doesn't say vote this day. I don't know, maybe it's my teaching of social studies, 6 years in the Atlanta City schools, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh,
So,
and we appreciate that.
yeah,
Hey, Dr. Harris, how soon are you going back to California?
No time soon.
Georgia's a mess sometimes.
Well, this is home, so I'm here.
Well, ladies, I'm supposed to close this out. Are there any last pressing questions you feel like we have to ask him now? We do want to thank you, Dr. Harris, for joining us today. You're a brave man, because sometimes we want to kill the messenger because we don't like the message, but it has been informative. We're glad, knowledge is power. So now it's up to us to do something with the knowledge that we have and try to make it better. But on behalf of Georgia women and those who stand with us and the League of Women Voters of Macon, we thank you for your time. We thank everybody who is on the line today. And we thank you for the information that'll be coming to us so that we can refer back to it later. Can we call you? You want to give us your personal cell? Just kidding.
Yes.
But we certainly will have some more questions, I'm sure, as we get into this, and hopefully you'll be hearing from us. Okay.
Absolutely.
But you said you're not going back to California, and we know we can still catch you.
No, not going back to California. My information is actually on the last page of the PowerPoint, and so you'll have that when Ms. Copeland, I said that correctly, sends that out to you. I am available by phone and email. I am here with a shared goal in mind to make sure that you have the information you need and access to the polls.
Well, again, we thank you, everybody. We thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, and thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
so much. Thank you.
You're more than
We
welcome.
truly appreciate this.
All right.
You're
We'll see you
welcome.
next time, everybody.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.